Welcome back to the 360-degree Marketing Show. Today, the guest on the 360-degree Marketing Show is Kayla Drake, and we've had her before on the show. Kayla has spent about 13 years in field and event marketing at companies like IBM, Autodesk, Udemy, Polo.io, and StackAdapt, building event strategies from the ground up and leading global teams through IPOs and acquisitions. If you're anywhere near field marketing on LinkedIn, you've probably seen her show up on your feed. She's one of the top voices in the field, a founding member of Plan Well Collective, and a regular speaker at industry events and podcasts. To know more about what she's up to nowadays and some interesting perspectives from her experience, make sure to stick around until the end. Okay, Kayla, welcome back. I was watching our last episode and it did so well. People loved that episode and I loved it as well. And it was so, it was filled with like tactical stuff. We talked a lot about what is field marketing? How do we measure ROI? We talked about sales alignment, all of that good stuff. We touched a little bit on AI, but I think we can sort of understand that over the last year, AI is basically like the main like elephant in the room. Everybody's talking about AI. So we have to talk about AI. And I know that field marketing is one of those, roles that is basically like you're in the room with people, but you're also supposed to use AI. So it's like, we have to talk about this blend and this like weirdness here. So how do you feel about that?
So delighted to be back. I love getting to chat with you. And I think that last episode that we did, it was so foundational. I've still had people reach out to me asking about it, asking for advice. And I think it's just real conversations like this that help. And also you're a great host. So just want to acknowledge that too. AI. I know. I live in San Francisco. I eat, sleep, and breathe it. Everything's AI. I think there's AI mentioned on my cereal box, for goodness sakes. But I think we have to remember that AI it's new and it's improving and it's becoming extremely efficient and people are excited about it. And that's okay. Let people be excited. But what's happening is the pendulum is swinging pretty hard into it because it's of its newness, right? And that's okay. It's going to balance out. And I think we have to remember that too with AI.
Right.
To your point, when it comes to AI and field marketing is an incredibly physically demanding job. You can't use AI to physically set up your booth or arrange the seating chart in such a way based on the way the light shines in that you didn't expect when the sun was setting. Or these are all very in the moment, call it gut shot, like gut feeling, intentional ways of working with event marketing. Mm-hmm. But I think with AI, you have to remember that it's like an intern. Think of it like an intern. It's there to learn. So take it slowly, take it in doses, take classes, ask people what are their different work streams that they put together? What are their different GPTs that they set up? And learn from others. And remember, you're not supposed to be an expert overnight. I think that's the one thing that we're making a mistake on is expecting people to be an expert overnight. AI is supposed to learn, and we need to slowly learn with AI too.
Oh yeah, 100%. I don't think any of us. I mean, the minute you think you're like the pro at this, the next minute something else is going to come in or like student again. That's it. Yeah. Got to learn from scratch.
I remember last year being so excited about ChatGPT because I could proofread my LinkedIn post, I can proofread my Slack messages and my emails, and I felt so cohesive. And especially as a woman with ADHD, I think we tend to overthink what we're writing and communicating because we're worried about getting it wrong. So it felt like a superpower having AI double check my email flow and catch a common mistake that I do where I get really excited at the beginning and then I forget to add in the details and context. And so it would help me in that regards. And then by the end of the year, it was, what are you doing to create GPTs that can streamline your full organization? It was this huge jump. And I remember feeling very overwhelmed by it. But what I realized is, oh yeah, it's because people are learning and we're picking up the pace. So what can I do to not just proofread my email, but what can I do to help take care of all the admin work of event marketing? Create the event brief for me, curate a schedule that I can then check and brainstorm on how to correct versus from scratch. What can I do to take care of all the admin tasks, like sending my logo and company description to all the trade show vendors that I need to be at? That's where it can really help you because it's going to take away all the busy time that you're wasting and expedite your work process that way. Yeah.
I love this. I'm like so excited. We have to get into like the nitty gritty of all of this. Like we have to go step by step because it's like a lot to unpack because I think that there's just a whole range of things we could explore here. It's not like we start with this. It's like like you said, we start with like emails and Slack, and then we move to, oh wait, I can create my own website, and then we go into, oh wait, I can create an agent that can talk to someone on the booth. Like it's just, there's variety here. And
Yeah.
I think, I mean, I know that, when we're thinking about, like, I also overthink a lot when it comes to like emails and the nitty gritty stuff, like details. What if the comma is wrong? What if I use an M dash and people think I'm using AI?
Yeah.
So it's even more difficult. At least with AI, we can sort of, like, we're behind a screen and we can kind of make these changes. But in person, it is not possible. You can't like make stuff up. When you're talking to somebody, you have to be really careful about what it is you're saying. So I want to learn from you. What do you think, from your experience when you're seeing people in person, and if, let's say that you're arranging a dinner, you have to like take into account about what kind of people are going to attend the event, like who's going to be there, what would they want to talk to each other about, who's going to sit next to whom. Like, well, how do you think these things through? What do you think about them?
That's such a great question. That really comes down to your critical thinking skills. And I think that's something that AI tends to take things at face value. That's very black and white with just data. You have to feed in exacts and then they give you exact output. Whereas that experience of curating the layout of a room, an agenda, where people sit, that comes from experience and that comes from a gut check. Here's what I mean. I'm hosting an executive dinner and there's going to be 20 people there. Well, I know based on my experience that I may have up to, based on my recommendation, 4 sales reps max in the room. Any more than that, then it's going to feel like it's your company's, happy hour. It's not going to feel like an executive dinner. It's going to be too sales pitchy. It's not going to be fun for the attendees because they want to network with each other. So I think of that. There's the cap. 3, 4 account executives max. I also know I need to spread them out because if they get too cliquey because they're coworkers and they know each other, they're only going to talk to each other and not the prospects and clients. Second, I know is who are the top prospects in the room? What is their account history? Where are their like-minded titles or like-minded companies that need to sit next to each other? Because I know it's going to facilitate the conversation. And then the rest of it is just kind of fun common sense. Are there Giants fans that are going to be in the room? Diehard, baseball fans. Can I sit them next to each other? Because I know they're going to get to talking about that. Or where are the parents in the room? They're going to want to reminisce and talk about what it's like as a professional with a 2-year-old at home. Can they sit together? But I'm going to be coordinating that all with my sales team. And I need to have those actual conversations with them. They have to be logical and realistic and just based on your interaction with that person. Human. They have to be human, quite frankly. And that's how you're going to curate a really good room that facilitates such an organic conversation that's going to flow just right. And then the rest is curating an agenda that creates those organic conversations in such a natural way. And that's kind of the power behind those real critical thinking skills you're putting to the test.
Wow. Do you think that, okay, first of all, do you have like any memory of you learning this, let's say from childhood or from college? Like this whole skill that, okay, this is how I'm going to present myself. This is how this is going to be. This is how I'm going to organize my books to school. Can you remember anything about yourself like that?
Oh man, what a lovely question. There's 2 things that come to mind. I think like from childhood, from my core, I grew up with a Southern family. My mom is from Texas and hospitality is a big one in our family, right?
Mhm.
Being a good host, presenting yourself as your with your best foot forward. That was always just ingrained in me as a kid and why I am so hospitable in the way that I am. But more on a specific, like tangible level, when I was going to college, I was a server and I did bartending and catering quite a bit through college to pay my way through college. And where I would work was often, it was down in Del Mar in San Diego, which is next to the horse races. And I worked at these really nice, like the Brigantine, fine dining, or Sabika Bistro, where we had nice high clientele with expensive wine. And everything was attention to detail, how the silverware is placed, the lighting just so, how we serve the dishes in such a way. And I think it kind of taught me the art of hospitality and the art of hosting and how to make a person feel like they're VIP in a luxury environment, because it's their money, they're spending it. So I want them to feel like their money was well spent, right? But also, it wasn't just, hey, here's some food. It's, I went to a restaurant and I enjoyed the entire experience from the moment I got there and had my appetizer and cocktail down to the dessert and nightcap at the end and the beautiful music playing and the fireplace in the corner and the sunset was gorgeous. All of it is curated on purpose and it was with intention. And I consider myself a very intentional person in general, but that really kind of planted that seed. So I remember my very first marketing role.
Mhm.
It was like at a biotech company and we did our first trade show. It was in Germany and I ran the booth. Like it felt very second nature. I just felt very comfortable and at ease and it was a 3-day long show and I just knew how to set everything up and how to greet each person who came over. And I remember someone saying like, you're such a natural, like, why was this so, it felt like you've done this for years. And I thought, well, I've kind of done catering for years and I've been a bartender and I know how to do customer service. It was like all my little jobs leading up to it made that so comfortable for me. And then the rest was history. I was hooked. I was hooked in event marketing after that.
Yeah, I guess like you could see that because that's why I asked that question because it doesn't come for a lot of people. You know, some people are like, I do this job because it's what I have to do. It's my title. But then some people are just like, I don't want to say born with it because you still had to hone that skill, but you're a natural for sure. There's no doubt
Oh,
about
thank
that.
you. You can learn though. I do want to preface that. That's something
Mhm.
that's really important to me is most event and field marketers don't get into event and field marketing to start with. I think 90% of them, if you ask, like, how do you have a career in event marketing? They're like, actually, I did something totally different to start with. I somehow made my way into it and I just realized I loved it. And it was so addicting and it was so much fun. And it was a combination of creativity and business that I really liked. So I got to work with the sales team, but I didn't have to deal with their quota. I didn't have to have a sales quota, which is the best part.
Correct. All the
So
good stuff, not the pressure.
yeah, exactly. It's easy to fall into it and a lot of it can be learned. But
Mhm.
I often find that most event field marketers have some kind of background like that, whether it's hospitality, customer service.
Right.
They're very detail oriented. They're very organized. There's some little tidbit that just landed perfectly in event marketing and then they made a career out of it, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I know we talked like sales being much more stressful than this one, but I'm sure that you have moments where it's like, I knew this was going to go wrong, or I wanted this to go right, but it went wrong. Like, how do you handle these situations?
With regards to hosting events,
Yeah, like when something goes wrong, horribly wrong. Let's say that you you wanted someone to sit next to somebody else and then they end up switching places and you're like, "No, my whole cheat, like my whole like seating chart has gone. Oh no, this is not how it's supposed to happen." Like how do you deal with these things?
yeah, so that's the fun part about event marketing is you are a professional fire putter outer. You are constantly going to be dealing with very last minute panic attacks. Not literally, but very last minute changes that you weren't expecting. Your speaker that was confirmed to be on stage, their flight got delayed. Your CEO was supposed to lead the roundtable discussion and they have a kid home that's sick. Your swag didn't arrive on time. Your brochures that were printed the wrong size and they're not even, you can't hand them out. There's always going to be something like that that happens. And I think the general golden rule is to keep a cool head, keep it calm, because you are the orchestrator of that event's success. Nobody needs to know the chaos going on in the background, but you just handle it with grace. Keep a smile on your face. You figure out a way to pivot, and you always, always, always prepare for a backup plan. It's actually a big thing that I do with a lot of my event marketers and field marketers that I manage. As I say, when they go through their entire event setup and we're walking through it and they're like, oh, this looks good, that looks good. As I go, okay, great. What are your backup plans? What's your backup plan for the swag not arriving on time or your name tags not getting printed in the right font? Or what happens if this speaker isn't there? Do you have a backup speaker? What happens if you had 40 people register and only 10 show up? How are you going to pivot? And there's always, always a solution, but it's about keeping a calm head. Just keeping a cool head and saying, what can I do to make this still work in a way that makes the event still successful and something good can come out of it?
Absolutely, but if you think about like field marketers that are just getting started in their career and they're sort of like in charge of something like this, how do you think, because naturally what we would want to do is go and vent to somebody, oh my god, this went wrong, I thought this would go this way. How do you stop yourself from doing that and collect yourself? Because saying that you have to be calm is really easy, but then in the moment you're like, I really want to vent to somebody because this went horribly wrong. So how do you sort of do that?
Well, it's time and a place. Always have a debrief after your event, because you do need to talk about those things that didn't go right. But
Correct.
the one thing that's true about event marketing is the show must go on. You still need to execute an event. A speaker didn't show up. Cool. What's your backup plan? Because again, what is going to be your end goal? What is it you're going to accomplish? Well, the event still needs to happen. You still want people to talk to each other, network. Can that still happen with the speaker who unfortunately missed their flight? Yes, it can. So what are you doing to make sure that you're still hitting that end result and still having a successful event? Now, some things are just going to be out of your control. You just have to accept it. And then you vent, you know what I mean? But vent after the event. Or vent when the dinner's over, because you have a job to do. You've got to keep your professional hat on and you've got to execute because the show must go on. But that's why you always schedule a debrief call, not just with your marketing team, but with the sales team, the people that were there. And you say, what worked, what didn't? And you just be very transparent. Okay, the speaker didn't show up because their flight got delayed because they were late getting to the airport, which was their miss. Do we want to remember this for next time? If we want to consider them being a speaker again, maybe avoid them. Or the restaurant totally blew it on the food because they ran out of half of the items that they said that they were going to deliver at our dinner. Maybe we don't host it at that restaurant next time. And just be transparent. Nothing's personal. It really is just luck of the draw. So what are you going to do to pivot and still make that a successful event experience? And then just learn from it for next time. And then later, when you have drinks with your coworkers, complain then. Yeah, get it out. But also, I do strongly encourage too, working with a coach, working with a career coach, working with a mentor, and community. Rely on your community big time, because what you're experiencing is not new. It is a part of the job with being an event marketer. And so it's good sometimes to just connect with your peers and kind of commiserate a little bit, blow off some steam together, because it's a tough job. It really is.
Yeah, no, totally. I do believe in like having a good mentor, because sometimes you just cannot ask your boss because we don't know. It's not always possible for everybody to go and ask their boss a question because they might feel like it's a stupid question. So get a mentor or reach out to Kayla.
Absolutely. I think the goal of your manager being there to support you is to help alleviate bottlenecks, but they also have a job to do too. So they can't be your go-to therapist. They can't be your venting, crutch. So I think having a mentor or having like a career coach to lean on is so pivotal for that reason, because they're a person that can speak your language, they understand where you're coming from, and you could speak in a safe space.
Absolutely. What's like the smallest detail that most people, don't notice, but then it really does change how the entire day goes? Can you think of anything for that?
Oh, yeah. I think, especially with hosted events, devil's in the detail. So there's little things that I hyper focus on, but registration's a big one. So when a person shows up for your, we'll say, executive dinner or your happy hour, they need to check in, get their name badge, and go into the event, ideally within 60 seconds. So you want to have your whole registration desk set up, done in such a way where it hits right at the entrance, but it has a good flow. You have your name badges organized in a very efficient way so you can get them quickly, or they're facing the attendees so they can grab their name badge quickly, check them in, and be on their way. And always have a backup plan, because a lot of times people don't know this, but when you do have an event and you send your name badges to print, because your name badges should always be printed, by the way, do not handwrite name badges. Gross. But usually you have to send it to a printing vendor 2 days in advance of the event. People inevitably register within 48 hours of the event, last minute. And the people who register last minute, by the way, are almost guaranteed to show up. So you do want to prioritize them. Don't minimize them with a handwritten name badge. But that means that you've got to figure out how to print those name badges within that 48-hour window. So have a little printer at your registration desk and have that part be really efficient. So when they show up and they go, oh, I just registered 2 hours ago. Oh, no problem. Come over here. I'm going to print your name badge. Be on your way. If you don't have lanyards and you do the actual name badges in a sleeve, Do the magnetic sleeves. Don't do the ones with the safety pin. Most of the people showing up to your event are wearing a blazer. A lot of times women identified wear silk blouses. You don't want to put a safety pin in it. These are all tiny little details, right? But it creates efficiency, so you don't have a line going out the door. You don't have people frustrated because it's taking too long. But also remember the anxiety that they're feeling when they first walk in the door. You want to alleviate that. So you really want to make sure they've checked in, they know where to go. You tell them, okay, coat check over there. You could grab your drink at the bar, and they're in the door, and then they can start the networking process. They can start the conversations. And you want to alleviate that anxiety point, that little pin where it gets a little uncomfortable for them. Such a little detail. Also, please iron or steam your tablecloth. I know that's silly, but first impressions they set the tone, little details, but it makes all the difference. Yeah.
No, for sure. Because I remember I went to this event in January, and it was whatever you're saying, I can like imagine myself going through that whole process. And it was so nerve wracking because I was like, where's my card? Where's the lanyard? Where is this? And where's that? It was such a stressful moment because all I wanted to do was get to that speak. I just want to get into that room. And it took like 10 minutes for me to get through this process. So I can understand, like, it is really important to have these things set up the right way.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then also you got to think of what is a natural flow to an event. If you host an event in winter, where's your coat check? And is your coat check efficient for them to go and drop off their giant jacket? And then they want to set their bag down. So do you have name cards at the table so they can quickly find their seat, set their bag or purse down, and then get to talking, right? There's the human admin stuff that you need to make efficient for them to get out of the way so they can get to the event. And they're not busy figuring out, oh, great, there's a 10-minute line at the coat check versus can I walk up and hang up my coat and then get to talking to, John Smith over there that I've been dying to meet. That's the efficiency you want to be thinking through is like event flow is also physical flow of people too.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. But I want to kind of like go to the next step and be like, okay, I've done all of these things. I'm going to go meet somebody, but I am socially awkward. I don't know how to talk to somebody. Is there any role that you play in this process where you're like, I'm going to introduce you to somebody? Anything that you do here?
Oh, I love that. The good introvert question.
Mm-hmm.
So I think everyone assumes that when people go to an event and they network, it's a room full of extroverts. The truth is 75% of the room is actually introverts. They just know they need to be there, whether it's just to help their career or it's because they're excited about going to that event. And I always kind of think of them in mind. So the first thing that I always think of is give them a to-do. When that introvert checks into your event, the awkward person, you could tell they're shy or they're just socially awkward. You get them checked in and you walk them through, hey, grab your drink here at this bar. Appetizers are back there. Make sure you go grab swag from this table and also XYZ. And it makes it even more fun if you could add a little bit of a gamify component to it and make it seem like it's mandatory. That way they can always default to that. When they just feel awkward, they don't know how to talk to anybody, you could say, hey, we're handing out these bingo cards. Make sure you go ask people these questions to play the game of bingo. Everybody's playing. And if you kind of make it seem like it's mandatory, then they can just default to that. And they can go, hey, I have to do this bingo thing. Like, do you mind telling me where you're from? I have to ask it. That way, they can put the awkwardness on the bingo card instead of them. And it takes the heat off of them. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And also giving them something to do of like, oh, I need to go get a drink. Okay, I need to go get an appetizer. I need to go set my stuff down. I think that kind of gives them a map. So they don't feel like, okay, I'm standing in this room now. I'm just going to talk to people. This is so awkward. Yuck. That's not fun. You want to make sure that it just feels like it's less stress and less pressure. And then it just creates that conversation organically.
Oh, I love that bingo card. Mm-hmm. I wish I don't think I've ever had that happen to me. I would have loved that. I would just be like, okay, hey, I want to ask you this question because I'm supposed to ask you this question. And then it opens up. Oh yeah, it's awesome. Awesome.
And then if conversation comes from it naturally, bonus,
Exactly. Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's a great opener because most people, that is the problem. They have a cold start problem. They don't know how to, navigate the situation. And this is really helpful for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think most corporate events are sometimes boring. So when people are taking the time to be there in person, from your experience, what have you seen that makes you feel like, oh, time's up? Like, this is how much we wanted to spend here, but we kind of don't want to leave because it's really fun to hang out with these people. Have you seen that happen? And if
Yeah.
yes, how did that happen? Like, what did you create for that to happen?
Well, first of all, my events are always fun. They're never boring. Let's make sure we know that. No, I'm kidding.
You're fun.
Well, I actually learned this tactic. We'll just talk about hosted events first versus sponsored events. I learned this tactic pretty early on in my career. One of my mentors, she taught me the art of 3 locations. So she said, when you're hosting, say, we'll go with a dinner, make sure you curate 3 different locations for people to naturally get to talk to one another. What I mean by that is a lot of times people will make the mistake of hosting a dinner and they're like, hey, here's the dinner. Here's your seat, sit there. And then you're stuck there all night. So you've got 2, maybe even 3 long, painful hours with the same like 2 or 3 people sitting next to you. It does not matter if you're the most extroverted person in the world. I consider myself an extrovert. 3 hours of sitting next to the same 2 people, I'm going to run out of something to say, right? So you got to mix that up. You got to mix up the energy. So the 3 locations is start with your first location. We'll say the networking hour. So for 45 minutes, as the event starts, when people are going through registration and checking in, you're going to do cocktails, standing appetizers at the bar. This gets them to mingle, talk, you know, those first connections, and you can even ask them to kind of change it up. Make sure you go around and say hello to every single person in the room. You guide them to do that. Location 1. Location 2, obviously the dinner. They sit down. You've got a curated seating map. You have them sat where you want them at with intention. And then they have their appetizer and they have their dinner there. When the dinner's over, clear all the plates, announce. That's when you could do a lot of your, like, the CEO can stand up, say a few words, have a little break in the conversation. You could do your roundtable discussions, your panel, whatever activity you might do for content. But then you say, okay, everybody grab your drink, stand up. I want you to find a new table, find a new seat for desserts. And you get them to move to a different table. When they all move and they all sit down, then you drop the spoons, then you drop the desserts. It helps if you have kind of the same dessert, or you at least mark who are your dietary restrictions, just to make it more streamlined, you know, or you could do buffet, whatever you want to do. But then they all sit in a new location. This way they can go talk to somebody they've been dying to talk to, or go meet someone new they haven't met yet. But it gets them to move. That's that their location is dessert. Now, if the conversation's going well, and that usually does, because you've got a little booze in them sometimes, even if you're non-alcoholic, you got desserts, you got sugar in them. So they're going to pick back up that energy and they're going to get to chatting. Now, if you're really ambitious, doesn't happen often, but if you're really ambitious and it's a good night, you can move into a 4th location, which is to say, we're going to open up that patio for nightcaps. If you guys want to join us for our last round of drinks, please join us. Keep the conversation going. And a lot of times if people still have that good, you know, fun, lively energy, they may go out and get to chatting. But I'm telling you, the dessert, 3rd location, you're going to pick that energy back up and people will stay. They will linger. But what's nice is if when you do that, you do give an organic exit for the introverts that are like, listen, I can give you 2 hours and my social battery's done. Well, they did the dinner, they knocked it out. You're off the hook. So it's a good way to kind of shake it up, and then just you set the stage and you let them chat.
I feel like the way you're describing this whole thing is, first of all, it's like so detail oriented, so well laid out, planned. It makes me feel so calm. But I also think it increases trust in a brand when you attend an event and it's like so streamlined. You know exactly what you're supposed to. You never have to overthink. There's no anxiety here. I know you have anxiety, but we don't have anxiety as people who are attending. I think it really does make you want to come back to these events and trust the brand more because they're so thoughtful and so customer oriented. So
Yeah.
I want to ask you, like, in your career, is there something that you thought about, earning trust as a brand from your customers or prospects? You thought like this is how you do it, but then it kind of became like, oh wait, that's not how this works. Is there anything you can think of in that sense?
Yeah. I almost want to say I'm not customer oriented, I'm human oriented, because the way that I think about my events is I think, what is going to be the human experience? And something as simple as Okay, make sure you have appetizers ready to rock as soon as the person walks in the door because they're hungry. Don't throw content or pitch slap me as soon as I walk in the door. I'm going to get grumpy. I need food. Those little micro moments are so crucial. And I think so first I want to preface that I'm very human oriented. Now, when it comes to brands I trust, I used to think that companies that had a lot of money and they spent on advertising and branding, and you just saw their name everywhere, it meant that they were important. And it meant that they were the end all be all. There's a reason why their name is everywhere. That's why I should trust them because their brand, their logo itself is very well known. The truth is it really comes down to the people and the people that work there. The people make a product magic. The people make that company successful. I'll give you a good example, Splash. It's one of my favorite event tech platforms that I have onboarded at a few companies for building event landing pages. The team that worked at Splash, some of my favorite people in the whole wide world, to the point that when they would do hosted events and they would come to San Francisco, man, I would clear my schedule so fast because I was just so excited to see them and talk to them. And I love the product, but it made me love the product more because of the people that were there. And I think that's the nuance that's changed. Having $1 million advertising budget is great. You get your name out there a lot too, but who are the people behind the curtain? Who are the people running the show? Who are the engineers that are keeping the product running smoothly and paying attention to the user in mind? Who's the content marketer who's actually writing all the blog posts? And do they actually care about the industry or whatever the product is that they're talking about? And I think that has stood out to me more, I've learned, when it comes to brands, that if they're thinking about the people in mind, that's often more important than if they're just solely focused on revenue. If they're just machines and they're just a robot around, well, we just want to make more money and that's why we have $1 billion advertising budget. I've changed my opinion on how that connects and correlates. It really is the people behind the brand.
Imagine saying that to AI. It's going to be like, no, you're not coming for my job. I'm coming for your job.
Does not compute.
Doesn't understand. What do you mean trust? I don't know what that means. I just give you the answer that I feel like you want to know. So even if it doesn't actually help you, I'm just going to tell you that.
Explain human one more time.
Yeah, it's like it's made up of tissues and fat. No, not that human, not that way. Yeah, I mean, I think we should start talking about AI because I mean, it is interesting to think about this. Like, I love thinking a lot about trust and talking about trust because I think AI does make everything seem like it's all rainbows and sunshine. You know, it's like everything, no matter what happens, it's all going to be okay. But then there are certain things that AI cannot provide value with, right? Especially in a role like this. Like you can use AI for a few different things, but there are some things that AI just cannot do. Can you think of like a few instances where you'd say AI is not going to be able to do this as well as we're doing this?
I think for the most part, AI isn't going to be able to help us with the obvious things like I mentioned earlier, physically setting up a booth. They're not going to be able to do that. They're not going to be able to maybe personalize an entire ABM campaign towards a specific company in the entire buying committee. They may have the channels and the little nuances, but you know the people personally. They're also, AI is not going to be able to, let's say on a simple level, I find it not useful for finding event locations. Like if I say, hey, I want to host this happy hour in San Francisco, needs to hold 100 people, it gives me the most erroneous list. They're not there yet, right? Because there is like a vibe check that's there. Like when I'm finding a venue for an event, I can sense it. I can sense it with the way the menu is curated and the way the room is laid out and the lighting and where it's located in San Francisco. And you just can sense those things. And a lot of it is just my 13 years of experience. AI, I think, generalizes. It gives you the mean of the answer. It gives you kind of the summary or the average, but you know the intricacies and the details. Now, I'm not slamming AI because there's a lot of really positive use out of it. And it is imperative that event and field marketers do learn and start to pick up the pace in terms of how they incorporate it into their day-to-day. But please don't underestimate your natural critical thinking skills and your ability to gut check your events because that's pretty crucial to trust yourself when it comes to that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Is there anywhere that you think that I can do this? I mean, I know you talked about like finding a venue, but is there anything else that you think of, I can do this a lot better than AI can, but it kind of gets in the way because we're kind of expected to use AI for this. Is there anything you can think of for that?
I think AI is not quite there when it comes to creativity, especially when it comes to innovation or newness around creativity. And I correlate that more so to the world of art. Now, AI can innovate a new process and a new system and a playbook. But when I think of designing a new advertisement and when I think of the creative brand concept, I need a person to bring their creative mind to the forefront. And that's newness, right? And I say that because of all the, AI generated flyers that we see and AI generated artwork. It's so obviously AI and it does a great job and it's fine. Sure. But when I think of, I want to invent a new brand, a new campaign, I'm going to go to a designer. And so when I am thinking about the booth graphics for a trade show that I'm going to, how does it cohesively match the campaign of the email marketing and the website design and everything as it ladders to that booth? And where does it become all cohesive? Because events in general, I always say it's a vehicle for all all marketing teams to be able to use and take advantage of. And that creative drive has to have a human touch. AI just doesn't quite know how to do it. They don't quite know how to create something new when it comes to creativity.
Oh yeah, totally. I was just thinking about when I was, I was writing a book and I wanted to like create a cover for it. And then I gave that job to AI. It did such a terrible job. And then I took it upon myself to become the designer. I was like, I'm not doing this. It's so terrible. It's like you give it the just like you can, I know people would say that you can give it like whatever email marketing campaign, the design that you used on them, you can give everything to AI. It's going to know what to do, but it still does a terrible job. So I completely agree with you that you definitely need someone to have that creativity to create something that's kind of on theme, but also kind of different and can speak to someone. A lot of people learn visually, so they resonate with things visually. So it has to be the way that they can understand it. So agree with you there.
I've tried to use AI to say, can you come up with this concept? Like, help me generate a new logo or something. And it's the lines don't match and it's awkward and misplaced and it's not quite there. I do want to acknowledge, though, here's the positive sides to AI that I think are important. Mm-hmm. Especially going into this year, I noticed it felt like January 1st, all the tech companies started aggressively leaning into AI. KPIs need to have AI included, your objectives, company goals, hiring now. You have to hire someone that's an expert in AI. Nobody's an expert in AI. So can we just stop doing that, first of all? But AI is meant to learn, like I said. So one thing that I'm noticing, especially in tech, that I think up and coming event marketers need to be aware of is you're going to see companies start to count your Claude credits used, for example, on maybe a weekly basis. They're going to encourage that you start managing your tasks through AI, and they're going to check to see if you're actually incorporating it. And there's a way that you can do that that benefits you. So enabling agents, like you mentioned, so that way it can execute its own tasks. For example, you got 20 trade shows you're about to go to in H2. Great. Where can you use a Claude agent to say, take care of sending the logo and company description to all of these vendors? It's all time-consuming stuff. Event marketing is not exceptionally difficult at its core in terms of the individual tasks. It's that you have a million tasks and they're all due at the same time, right? Because you can't change the date of an event. So where can we offboard that to AI to make your job more efficient? So I have more time for creativity and I have more time for creating the campaign and the flow of the event and how am I thinking through this curated experience while people come to the trade show and how am I going to display the product and demo live, and then you get a fun piece of swag or what are these fun interactive moments that I can spend more of my time on, and AI can take care of all those repetitive, redundant admin tasks that are associated with events. And I think that's where AI can benefit the event and field marketer.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think a lot of people would be confused on, what should I be learning that it's not just about, drafting emails or the basic stuff that everybody's using AI for. I'm sure that a lot of people want to know, because this is such a be on the field, such a physically demanding job. What else would you would you recommend that people have to learn with regard to AI?
There's too many things to list with AI. So I think the first thing is like understand the basics, understand ChatGPT, understand Claude, take some really, really basic courses, and then start asking your peers questions. Hey, how do you do this? What do you do to incorporate it? What are tips and tricks that I can start to incorporate, and just start small. So start to think through, take inventory of all the tedious tasks that you would say, man, I would save like 2 hours a day if I didn't have to do this. And it doesn't require too much critical thinking skill. There's not too much chance of error if you were to offboard it. So think of it like, what is something I feel comfortable giving an intern that I know that they can execute, and I might have to provide a little guidance, but I trust that if it doesn't go right, then it's not going to be the end of the world, right? And think of AI like that, an intern that still wants to learn and continue to take on more tasks. And then as you see it start to improve, then you can start to add more on, but just start small. And a lot of it's like taking courses, taking classes, like jump in those webinars and those podcasts, listen to them and educate yourself, but do it small. Don't overwhelm yourself. There's no need. You're not going to be an expert overnight, despite what everybody on the executive team at your tech company says. You're not going to be. It's going to take you a while. But you never know if you get that one little trick that, oh my gosh, it just saved you, a full days of work in a single week. And that's such a cool win. So just a little bit at a time.
Yeah, you were talking about how to learn these multiple tools, but then we've talked about this before off camera. You've mentioned that event tech is like a real gap where, you guys have to piecemeal all these tech stack together. It's not like everything has everything. It's kind of like how Netflix and Prime works. You don't have your favorite shows on one platform. You have to kind of go hop around and have all of these subscriptions to watch your favorite show, which means it ends up costing you more than you want to pay for entertainment. So what do you think would actually solve that? Like, what are you hoping that AI would kind of enable in the next couple of years for field marketers?
I think with event tech, which I'm very passionate about, I love to talk about it and the different types of technology that is available to us and continuing to grow and innovate on, is that there's not enough. There's not enough strong event technology that also works at scale. And a lot of times you'll see tech companies will say, oh, I see this event marketer, field marketer has this need. I'm going to solve it with this tool. And then they forget to go back and check in with the individual event field marketer and say, does this actually help you? Or where's the nuance? Like, what's not working well? And I'll give you a good example. Goldcast is really great about having an advisory council. They have product advisors, and they're everyday event marketers where they just say, hey, you've been using this line of product on Goldcast. What do you think? What's your feedback? And they legit will just have an engineer sit with an event marketer, and they'll just go, oh, this is great. This is great. By the way, you have a bug here. This search bar doesn't work. And why do you do this setup? I don't use it this way. I use it this way. And they get real-time feedback, which is so imperative. But a lot of times you'll see these event tech products that'll hit the market and then they think profit. So they will, rake up the price to an ungodly amount that's not realistic. And then they'll say, well, you don't see the value. Clearly you don't see the value. I'm like, it's not value. I only have so much budget. I can't afford it. It doesn't matter if there's value. I'm spending more on your event tech than I am for my entire event budget for the quarter. That's insane, right? And that's a miss that I find. I also want to see event tech talk to each other more. So, for example, you see a lot of lead capture devices, lead capture organizations popping up. Mobley, iCapture, Popple. Fantastic. Do they integrate with Salesforce? Do they integrate with HubSpot or Marketo, which is the tool I'm going to be using regularly? Or do I still have to manually scan on your badge scanner or your app, download it as a CSV, and then upload it into Salesforce? That's obnoxious and it misses the whole point. I'm just going to rent the one that's at the show floor then, if I'm going to still do that manual process. So what's going to be more efficient? And I think that's where AI can jump in, is understanding the streamlined process. Where is the entire start to finish end of me using it, and what am I trying to accomplish? And what are all these additional products that I have to queue in to make it work? So if I'm scanning a badge and I know I need to upload it into HubSpot. HubSpot then has to sync to Salesforce. Where is your product thinking through that? And I think that's where AI can find the efficiencies and inefficiencies. That's where I want to see AI move into the event tech world. So I used to cringe when I heard this at first, when all these companies started saying, oh, we're AI powered, we're AI infused. And now when I see it, I'm like, okay, good. Then you're thinking tactically on how to constantly improve, because that's what AI is meant to do, is how to efficiently and constantly improve.
Yeah. Feedback loops are really important because I think a lot of companies don't have them. And I love Goalcast.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when they started out, I used to like piece together like a Google Doc and send them, and they'd have their engineer on it immediately. And I was like, wait, what? Okay. I didn't know people did that. That's amazing. And they would get it fixed immediately. So you're absolutely right that not everybody has the same need, and kind of, I guess, customizing it to your customer is really important, especially, with AI in place, you really do need that. So I hope companies start doing that a lot more.
Yeah. I think AI is going to be really good about figuring out those bottlenecks that we don't think about.
Yeah.
Those inefficiencies, like I said, that we don't realize that are there, or we can't fathom an alternative route because we're just so accustomed to doing it the way we've been doing it.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those worlds of you don't know what you don't know. And I feel like AI is going to be really helpful in terms of unblocking those workflows that we didn't realize were causing us so much time and wasting money. But we just don't see it because we never thought about it. I always use Google Doc. I always use Google Sheets. It's just easier. Well, why are you using it? Okay, I see what your miss is. You need to connect this, that, and this. And AI can kind of fix those puzzle pieces that we didn't even realize were in the way.
Yeah. I think we're getting better at building systems because we do need one to be connected to another so that there's like a streamlined process, and we don't have to ever look at just one thing and then wonder, where is that? I remember I wrote it somewhere. I just don't know where it is anymore. We don't want that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think with an event marketer, you're, like I said, managing a million tasks at once. You have so many things living in your head, and it's very difficult to keep track of everything at any given time. I think one of the most helpful tools I ever started using was Granola, which takes AI notes while you're on a call, but it's not disruptive like a lot of the AI note takers. You ever jump on a sales call and it's like, this AI note taker is going to be recording the call? Like, it's so disruptive. It's so awkward.
Yeah.
And now you're very hyper aware that you're being recorded. Whereas
Yeah.
Granola is just this really efficient background note taker tool that I can use. And it would summarize it in a way that I think, like how I write my notes, which is really nice. This is not a plug. I do not work for Granola. I just, as a person with ADHD, I just found it to be really, really helpful. And it was like those little things. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, do you know how many calls I've been on and I've had Post-its writing the notes of all my follow-ups, or how often I have to say, I'm not answering an email. I really am taking notes as we're talking, because if I don't write it down, I'm going to forget. I have 1,000 things living in my head. AI note taking, chef's kiss. Love it.
Yeah, for sure. I think the only reason I like to take notes is because, like, when someone's saying something, I want to ask them something and I forget it, which I can't really, like, I can go and ask AI for that because I need to ask that immediately. That is the only reason I ever take my pen. Otherwise, it's like AI can handle it. I can look at the transcript later.
Yeah.
It's so convenient, for sure.
I hear you. And again, that's the human side that we need to keep.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Also, my handwriting it's getting horrible, so I want to kind of keep that practice on.
Keep practicing.
I'm practicing. I kind of miss my cursive handwriting. It's like all over the place now, so I have to maintain it.
I hear you.
I did save the last and the best piece for us to chat about to the last, I guess. But I'm so excited for you because you told me off camera that you're starting your own business, and that's so exciting. You're starting your own event and field marketing coaching business. So I want to know all about it. Tell me, where did this idea even come from? Why are you doing it? Tell me all about it.
Oh, yes. I'm so excited. Breaking news. No, I'm just kidding. I am doing just that. So I'm launching my own event and field marketing career coaching business. I've been doing this for 13 years. I'm incredibly passionate about field and event marketing. And I have had so many wonderful event professionals reach out who are early in their career, and they just need to speak with someone who speaks their language and wants to help move them from an event executor, where they are just executing the events, to an actual event marketing strategist. where they can actually tangibly show how do their events tie to ROI? How are they able to show that they are driving pipeline and they're such an imperative part of the business infrastructure at their organization? I think I didn't get this when I was starting out. It was something that took years before I found my first mentor that taught me the ropes, truthfully, probably not till my third role, maybe 3 or 4 years in. And I just want to get back to the community. I'm really heavily involved in the event and field marketing community as a whole. I'm a founding member of the Plan Well Collective, and I'm hosting meetups as often as I can. And I thought, this feels like my calling. And it's really fulfilling to be able to just give back, but also just to guide and educate those who are maybe the only field marketer at their company, or maybe they report to a manager who isn't the head of field marketing, or maybe they are just ready for that next role, that promotion, that raise, and they just need someone to guide them. So I'm going to be launching this event career coach business. Consider me the event career coach, newly certified. So I'm going to take all my tactics and learnings and everything that I've done in the last 13 years and bring it to all the amazing professionals that's in my industry and help to just continue to elevate this industry that I love and know so well.
I mean, I've had you on this podcast twice and people loved hearing you talk. So that should tell people about how you play this whole game. So they should definitely, get in touch with you.
Oh, I'm so excited. And I hope everyone who's listening, reach out. Let's schedule a call. Let's chat. Let's get you there. And I think it's so imperative to learn from each other. That was one big takeaway I took with being in this industry is you learn so much from your own peers, from mentors, from those who are in the space who can guide you based on their experience. And that's where I'm at right now in my career is I'm just ready to get back. So I'm so thrilled to launch the Event Career Coach. And I hope I get to work with anyone who's listening to this podcast. Yeah.
Does it have a name? Do we get the name drop here?
I actually said it, the Event Career Coach.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's something I missed. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. Trademark. No, I'm kidding. That is actually the name itself. I wanted to keep it simple. I wanted to show that I am the coach to work with. And, I'm so thrilled. Like, I'm just so excited to get started on this and get going. And it's something, like I said, I've been building in the background for a little while. And now it's time to move it into high gear and really lock in and be there for those who are ready to level up in their career and teach you the rope and everything that I've learned along the way. So this is going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait.
Yeah, that's really all I had to ask you. Is there anything that you want to talk about that I didn't ask you?
I think that the last thing I would just say is the event industry is adjusting and adapting to AI. So find out where you land in it, ask questions, learn from your peers, be a part of the community, and make sure you're always kind of staying ahead of innovation, but don't overwhelm yourself. You're not meant to be an AI expert overnight. You're meant to learn in real time and as it works for you. If something doesn't work, don't use it just because everyone says you have to. It's going to be really oversaturated in this next year, but you're going to watch the pendulum kind of level out, and then it's going to be a little bit more normal use. So take your time with it. You'll get there, but do everything you can to just stay up on the trends. And otherwise, follow me on LinkedIn because I love to talk smack about event tech and all the amazing trends and tips and tricks I can offer to you. And hopefully we can learn from each other.
Yeah, it's awesome. Awesome. So good to have you. Thank you so much for doing this.
Heck yeah. Thank you, Anusha. I appreciate your time. And thank you for having me back. I love this. It's one of my favorite shows. So have me back anytime.